on Winston and show the steps in order for grooming a dog. First thing you want to do when you get them on the table is go ahead and completely brush and comb through everywhere. It's at this step that you want to find any tangles that the bathers missed, because you don't want to start trying to clipper the dog if there's tangles still left in the hair. You want to focus on areas that are commonly missed, and that is his armpit, over the body, legs, inside, outside. Make sure you check for mats in the toes, in between toes. The base of the tail right here, right there, is a place that is frequently, it's always matted on the dog, and it's frequently overlooked by the bather, no matter who the bather is. So if there's a bunch of tangles, switch to your brush. Otherwise, use the comb. So Eric's done a pretty good job on Winston. I've only found a couple tangles. We're going to check on inside of legs too. Hey, Winston, stop. So there's one right there on the inside of that leg there. If it's dry at all, or if the hair starts getting staticky, use the finishing spray to help keep the coat just slightly moist so there's no static. You want to make sure that you catch any mats, any little teeny tangles, because if you miss a tangle, it's going to cause problems when you're doing your clipper work. So again, I'm doing the other armpit, and there's a tangle there too. We don't want to leave any tangles at all on the dog, no matter where they are. Again, make sure you're checking in between toes. And Eric did a pretty good job, so I only found some tangles in the armpits and a couple on the inside of the leg, just small tangles. Okay, so once we do that, we then want to do our sanitary work, or the work we do with the smaller clippers. So let me get the air to blow it out. And you want to do all of this work at the same time. You don't want to have to do some of it now and then come back later and finish it. So you want to do everything with this clipper now. Anything that has to be done with this clipper, you want to do now. So we're going to do in between paws on the feet. I double checked, so now it's on the 30 length. I know, you're okay. You're okay. So we're going to go ahead and do all 4 paws. I don't know if you can see that, but this is, there we go. And you want to keep to this routine for every dog that you're grooming until you have it fairly well put in your mind of what you're doing. So if you stick to a routine, it's going to be easier, because I've noticed that there are some steps that are being skipped, and it makes it harder for you later on. So now I've got all 4 paws done. Now I'm going to do the bum. So with the bum, I'm going to go everywhere around, going from side, from the center and out. I want to make sure this whole area is neat and clean. So it shouldn't look all gross and yucky there. So now we've got that done. We're going to do his sanitary for his bum. So this, if he were a female, he'd had vulva there. So you need to make sure that area is cleaned up pretty good, whether it's a boy or girl. You're not going to be able to reach this area if you stand him up. This is the only way you can reach this, is right there. So on the other sides, it's easier to reach him if you've got him standing up. So I don't remember if he lets me stand him up, so let me see. So if you stand him up, there you go. And then you've got all of this, and you can actually see how far over to go with the clippers. So you go right inside that flap right there, that is the tuck up. If you leave the hairs hanging down here, it messes with your profile when you're trying to finish the dog, because you keep on trying to get that hair and it's never going to get right because it's on the inside. So we want to do just about maybe blade width in front of the penis, so that when he pees, he's not peeing on himself. And you want to make sure that's really good and clean, and try to get it even. So that's the sanitary. For the females, you don't have to go quite, can you stand up again? The females, you don't have to quite go up so far, but go, but at least go up to here to shave out that area, because those are fine hairs. There you go. And they tend to get matted. So we also want to go, because we're doing the clipper work. So we've done the bum, we've done the feet. Now we want to do it on the head. We don't want to forget to do in front of the ears. So it's at this stage also that we evaluate if the ears need to be plucked or if we're just going to trim them. So he's got kind of hairy ears. But I plucked out, hey, stop it. I plucked out a little bit, but we're going to actually go and just, hey, stop, Winston. We're going to just clipper that hair right there. Stop, Winston. So I've combed it all forward. Now holding the ear back against the head. So I'm holding the ear right against the head and actually pulling it. That pops those hairs up. So then you can just go, stop, Winston, and just catch those really quick. And this is on the 30. You're okay. And that also is clipping these hairs that are right directly in front of the ears. Okay. So same thing on this side. We're going to comb all that hair, the long hairs, unless you want to pluck it out. No, stop it. Once that's all combed out, I pulled his ear right against his head, so the hair pops out, and then I'm just going to take the clippers over it. Careful not to nick that area right there, and hey, stop it, and making sure I catch all that hair that's in his ears, so that's, even though he's got hair in his ears now still, and he actually has quite a bit of hair, so I'm plucking out a little bit, but that's nice and neat right there. Okay. Last step with these clippers is the diamond in between his eyes. Because he's got a short, stubby face, the diamond is actually going to be the entire area of his nose. So there's still a diamond point on the top, right here, between his eyes, but we're going to take out all that hair in between his eyes on his nose. So I kind of roll the hair back, the skin back on his head to kind of open that up a bit. It's still on the 30 length. Let me make sure. Still on the 30 length. You can do a 10 or a, but he's licking, so hey, stop, no. So, I don't know if you saw that. He's trying to lick the blade, lick the clippers. So, Winston, stop. So, I'm covering his mouth so that he can lick my fingers and not the clippers. Because if they lick the clippers, it will injure their tongue. It'll cut their tongue. So now I'm going to make sure, because he's not being entirely cooperative, I'm going to still make sure that this eye, so we've got from the point, so if you've got it's a diamond like this. So 2 triangles on top of each other. So the edges are the point of the eyes, and then it comes up to this point up here in between the eyes, and then normally it comes down to here, and you can tell because the hair grows that direction. That's the hair that needs to be taken off. Don't leave any of the hair that goes that direction. So that is that completes the triangle on the bottom. So, okay, so that's that works. So we should be able to put that away for now. Next, we're gonna do the nails. You want to check every foot. Let me secure them back up. For 5 nails. Even though a lot of dogs have their dew claws removed, a lot don't. So you just have to automatically, you're not looking for 4 nails, you're looking for 5. So, again, he's trying to lick. He's very oral. So I want to make sure that I don't, even though he's not going to bite me, I don't think, but I'm going to make sure that this Dremel never goes up by his face, because I can't even imagine the damage he would do if he licked the Dremel. So we're going to do, come on, stop it, Winston. Winston, no. So I'm holding it down lower. He does have a dew claw on the inside, and because he's being naughty, I'm going to trim it. So I'm trying to Dremel it. Technically, I could Dremel it, but so, and because he has a dew claw there, you can automatically assume that he has a dew claw here. I guess this isn't a dew claw, the blacks are dew claws, but though that's not always the case. And don't automatically assume if they don't have a 5th nail on the first foot that they don't have them on the other's foot. Because I do have a couple dogs that will have an extra nail on one side but not on the other. Okay, so do the rest of these nails. These are white, so I can see right where the quick is. So I'm going to go right in front of that quick. I can actually feel, because right in front of the quick it gets softer, so I can feel the texture change when I'm using the Dremel. But with them, I can actually see right where they are. Okay, now we'll do the back. Make sure you hold the tail out of the way, especially if they're one that tries to put the tail, because a lot of dogs, when you're working on the tail, back end will move their tail wherever you are. He does have extra nails on back, so, and I could feel that when I picked up his nail or his foot. So I'm going to try to figure out where I put, oh, right there. So he has the extra nail on every foot. And the reason it's so important to not miss these is because if you do, they actually can grow, because they will never wear down naturally where these will. They will grow back around into the foot. So that's why it's really important to not miss those, to look for those on every foot. So okay, so get this last foot. Okay, so that's basically the prep. That's the prep work before you start the actual groom. So the first step is to do your roughing in. The roughing in is trying to get off most of the hair before you try to do your finishing clipper work. I'm changing things up a bit so that you have a pattern that you can follow. So first step is to do the head. So his body, I'm going to leave him at 5/8. The finished length is going to be the 5/8 inch comb, which is a yellow comb, which means that I'm going to go in reverse with the 1 inch comb, which is this blue comb. So I'm going to run that over the face first and see if that's, because sometimes I do the 5/8 on the head and sometimes I do the 1 inch on the head, and I'm not sure with him whether I do the 1 inch or 5/8. So we're going to start out with the 1 inch. Now, when you're doing the 1 inch comb, or when you're doing it on the head, you want to make sure that you go in reverse, but you're doing that in reverse because you're trying to blend at the edge of the neck. So, the important part here is to get the hair that's right back here behind the ears and behind, so this is the occiput. There's a little bone right there. That's what you're trying to catch in reverse. So you can lift up the ear, you can pull the ear forward, and all I'm doing is kind of stretching the skin. So I'm not hurting him, I'm just stretching the skin so I can catch all that hair. And then when I'm going on top of the head, so this is the center of his head, I am only going down just this top part. Just this top part. I am not going I'm not going towards the eyes, from the back of the head towards the eyes, over the ear. If you do that, you will catch this hair. Let me see if I can see that. You'll catch this hair right here on the temple, and you'll cut that too short. So all you're doing is right there on top of that head, towards the eyes. Now I'm holding the long ears, and I'm going over the top of the ears to catch that hair that goes over the top of the ears. Now I'm going with the grain. Very important. And make sure, because I noticed that a lot of the time you leave way too much hair here, so that when you're finishing, you're having to take out a lot of hair, remove a lot of hair that should have been removed with your clipper. So I'm going from the top here of the head, down the cheeks, and remember he's a licker, so I have to hold his head out of the way. So, but I am not skimming over this point. I am running this clipper, or this comb, right against the skin so that all of that hair on the cheeks is gone. If you don't remove it now, you're going to have to remove it with your blenders and your scissors. So we've got we're going with the hair on each side of the head. So I'll do it again on this side. See if you can see it here. So I'm holding the ear flat, because I don't want to catch that hair. No, stop it. So I'm going over the ear to catch the hairs that are on the skull, because you don't want skull hair being mixed in with ear hair. The only hair that's part of the ear hair is hair that grows on the ear. Nothing else. Nothing in the back, nothing on the sides, nothing on the top. So now I'm going to go with the grain. Can't really see, and he's a licker, so I have to be careful. And go on the cheeks. Flat on that cheek, so it's touching his skin. And you want to make sure that you can go in reverse on the cheeks here, from the neck to the cheeks. And then you can go in reverse. So basically I'm starting at the neck and going that way. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm trying to get the hair that's on the neck, not just the hair on the head. So that I don't have, because you don't want to leave a huge chunk of hair from the head that's on the head. You want it blended into the neck. So then when I'm working on the muzzle, if I'm trying to do my style of teddy bear head, I don't start all the way up here. I start almost at a 45-degree angle to the chin. I don't know if you can see because I have to hold in his tongue. But I start at a 45-degree angle to the bottom of the chin. If somebody wants a shorter face, then you can start up higher towards the nose. But otherwise, you just start right, this is right above the muzzle, and get all that hair. And if you've done this right, so I'm lifting it up, getting all the extra hair. If you've done this right, there should be the same amount of hair all over the head. It still needs to be trimmed up, but there's not more hair here or here. It's all the same length because I've taken this down. And that's why you run the comb over the hair first, because you're setting the length in. So, back of the neck. Okay, so that's the first step. And so from now on, this is the first step in roughing in your dog. Do your head first. Now we're going to rough in the body. And basically all we're doing is removing the bulk of the hair so it doesn't interfere with our finished clipper work. So we're going to go the 1 inch in reverse. I'm going to start at the base of the tail. So right here, and just go whoop, just catch all that hair. It's not critical that you go opposite, because we're going in reverse, so you're going opposite of hair growth. So the hair all on the spine, so this is his spine, it all is growing this direction. So I'm going opposite up there. It is not 100% critical that you keep that, so I go that way. But if you go in a way diagonal or cross from the hair growth, it'll make chop lines that are going to be harder to remove. So the more careful you are about going in reverse of hair growth. So you're either going with the hair growth or you're going in reverse of the hair growth. Those are the two, that's what you should be doing. You really shouldn't be doing anything else when you're doing clipper work, because you will leave lines and chop marks. Okay, so I'm going to hold, I'm lifting him in because he's a sitter, so I've got him supported, and I'm holding his tail aside, and I'm going to just do that leg really fast. Get down here. You can do reverse on the top of the feet as well. I'm being very careful the direction that these are headed. These are very sharp, and they can cut the dog. So you have to be mindful that you're not poking them into the dog. That you're relying on this point to run against the dog. So you're going like that. You're not doing that. That hurts. That's going to hurt me, and that's going to hurt the dogs. So we've got that foot mostly roughed in. We're going to go on the belly and try to have a pattern. Don't work all over the dog. So come on, stand up. So I just roughed in his back left leg. Yeah, his back. So I'm going to move on from there to his belly. I'm not going to go from there all the way over to here. So you want to have a pattern. So you're going to move around the dog. And I pretty much always do that. I'm working basically around the dog as I'm going. So we're doing the reverse here. I can lift up his leg. If I pull his leg forward, I can reach the armpit hair right there. So now we're going to go up. We're going to do reverse. Hey, stop it. We're going to do reverse on his front leg. And then I'm going to pull his leg forward. Now I'm doing the back of his leg, and I can go both directions back of his leg, because I'm just trying to get as much of the hair off as I can. Going to go up the sides. You don't want to spend a lot of time doing this, but be as thorough as possible, because it's going to make your finish work easier. So now I'm kind of working on his belly. Now I'm working on his front chest. Now I'm doing his, that's his right front arm. I start in reverse all the way down at the tip of his toe. Stop licking. No, no, no. So I start all the way down there, because that's all hair that's just going to have to come off anyways. So might as well get it sucked off now. So now I'm doing his armpit, and he's got a nice, he's doing this full range here, so that makes it really nice to get in there. And that's, he's actually doing that. I would be okay if he were back farther, but that's where he wants to be. So, okay, so now I'm doing the sides of the chest, sides of the body. Remember, I'm working around the dog. Go up right up to the loop here on the neck. Now I'm going to stand him up again. I'm holding his tail out of the way. And I'm actually holding his leg straight because he wants to move it. And the clippers aren't cutting very well, so those blades. So I'm going to move him down to a 15 blade because I'm having problems with my 30 blade. So there's a 15 blade. Now, Winston. Go up the leg, go up the leg. Okay, so I have the bulk of the hair taken off. I'm getting to, so if I'm working on the other, to get the other side of the leg, inside of the leg, I go from the opposite side. So, that's mostly last step of roughing in. And this has got to be one of those things that you don't skip ever. Because I've noticed, it just dawned on me today that this is partly why you're struggling with things. So, once I have his entire body roughed in, I then take the loop off of him. Because before I couldn't get to his neck because of that strap was there. But we have to do that area. And you have to do that area before you're doing your finishing work. So I'm holding his ears out of the way, holding his neck up, and now I'm doing up in reverse all the way up into that neckline. So I'm doing that all the way around because remember I talked about if you put if you had a little necklace around the dog from the occiput behind his ears, that's the hair that needs part of his head. The rest of that, below that, is all neck hair, and that should not be left messy. So we're going to go around, hey, stop it. His entire head, his entire neck. We're going to go around and make sure we catch all those loose hairs. I think what's happening is you're not doing this step, and when it's coming to the finishing the head work, you've got so much mess back here and so many hairs back there, it's hard to do it. So, okay, so once we've done the neck, so doing that neck in reverse is always the last stop of roughing in, which means that the first step of your finishing clipper work is always going to be the neck. And I don't see where I put the comb. Oh, no, that's scissors. Okay, oh, it's right here. So he's still out of there, so I can work on his neck. So, last step of roughing in is doing the neck. First step of your finishing always has to be starting with the neck. That's crucial because it sets you up for doing the rest of the body. And I'll show you why. So, zip his neck. Now we're going in reverse. I'm going to see how the regulator's closed. I'm going to see how that looks because I can open it. Generally, I'd start with open. So I'm going to go around that entire neck. So that means the hair behind the ears. That means the hair on both sides of his ears. And then, now from this point, while he's still in this position, start doing the rest of the neck and shoulders. So you're actually going to take this down and start doing the right shoulder, the left shoulder, and now you're going to start going down the back. So, Okay, so once you, so now, so you've got, so at this point, his head should be mostly blended in the neck in here. So when I go to finish his head, I don't have to worry about all this hair that's on his neck or on his chin or in other places that I have to use blenders or scissors to do. So once that's done, you can put him back in, or you want to put him back in this. And from here, so let me move that up. It's natural to go from, it's just a natural transition. So from his neck, now we're gonna starting up at his neck. So this part's already finished. So we're gonna start at this part that's finished, and then we're gonna go down his spine. And with little dogs, the hair that grows in this direction might only be a clipper blade's width. Bigger dogs might be 2 blades width or 3 blades width, but you don't want to go any straight this way, any wider than the dog is. And also at this point, so you've got down to the neck, we've gone down the spine. Now we're going to do the top of the tail or the entire tail if it's a stub tail. I've noticed that this is a step that you're not getting. So I hold the tail down, and there's all these little hairs that poke out, and then I go over the tail, just the base. When I do that, what happens is I am clipping just the base of the tail, so just around here, so that there's not a lot of hairs all over the place. So once you go from there, now we've got finished neck and spine. We're going to start with his, his left or his right shoulder. And we're going to start from the areas that are already done. We're not going to go right into the areas that aren't. So these are finished. So we're going from finished to unfinished. So from the neck, we're going to go down the shoulder. And we're just going to go slow and steady. And I don't know if you can see that. By starting from an area that's already finished and going into the area that still needs to be clipped, it's smoother. You don't want to just start in an area that hasn't been finished and start in the middle of it. So go over that shoulder blade. Now we're going to go over from there. We're going to finish this leg. So again, we're working around the dog, and we're doing everything on that. We're just working our way around the dog. So that means we're running it over the foot, all the way down to the tip of the foot, the sides, everything, the back of the leg. We're getting the armpit here. He's really stretching this. It's really easy to do his armpit right there because he's really stretching out. But if you have to, you can also pull the leg out, twist the skin with your hand so that you can reach that. So lots of different ways you can reach that. He's pretty easy. So I'm running this over that leg, over the chest. So now we've got the neck, spine, and that leg is finished. So from that point, we're going to keep on turning the dog, and we're going to do his right chest. And we're going at a slight angle. We're going from finished to non-finished. I can lift him a little bit and get this hair that's on his belly, or I can stand him up completely and get it from there. But we're just going systematically, so that's finished now. Now we're going to this side. So I'm doing the right back hip, going from finished to unfinished. I'm going to lift his leg. I'm going to catch that very carefully. That's the tuck up, and that's an area that is easily nipped. We're going to go over the leg. He's really fluffy, so you see that I'm not using the comb at all or back brushing because his hair is really, really fluffy. I don't have to do really a lot of back brushing. But if you weren't, then as I'm doing this, I'm constantly picking up the comb or the brush and combing it up. So we're going back over the tail again. We're doing this leg. I've got my fingers right there in front of his knee to hold it straight because he doesn't like to, and I'm not really twisting his body. He is. I just want to get to that inside of the leg. So, lifting it up. So you can lift his leg like, that, but sometimes that tweaks it too much, so that they'll try to sit and then just yank their knee out of joint. So, but I am going to work on, come on, Winston, stop that. I'm going to get this side while I'm at it. Including all this hair right here on the back of the bum, or underneath the bum, the anus. You don't want to leave that shaggy. So, now we're working on the back tail. So all this area needs to be cleaned up. You don't want to leave that shaggy, or, so it should be, hey, come on, stop it, Winston. Winston, stop. You can see he keeps on trying to twist his body so he can sit down. So I'm holding his left leg, but I'm holding his body up because he doesn't want to hold it. So, when you're working, when they have dew pods in the back, you have to be really careful you don't catch them because they poke out a little bit. Okay, so that leg's done. So now I'm going to work on his left side of his body. So we're going to start on the back left leg. And there was a couple tangles there that I missed. We'll get those. Hey, stop it. And you don't need to overthink this. You just go over it and let the clippers do the work. So that's all sucked up. Okay, now we're going to double check that we got all the hair on this side. Hey, come on, stop that. Winston. At this point, I could put him in a strap to hold him up. Come on, Winston, stop that. There we go. Come on, Winston, stop it. Yeah. Okay, so then we're going to work up his left belly, chest. I went ahead and grabbed that right there on his underarm because he reached it out. And go all the way through here. Okay, try to get some, he's still twisting his body. So I'm gonna pull his leg out so I can get on the inside. Hey, Winston, stop. Make sure I get right down to the tips of the toes. Make sure you get the outside of this leg. The smoother you try to make it now, the less work you have to do to try to finish it up. Okay. So, now let me show you how, if you want to get the belly, you just lift them up, and sometimes it's easy to get the armpits from here too, and sometimes it's easier to reach the inside of the back leg. Hey, stop that, Winston, no. So we're gonna get this. So we've got that whole area that's a little difficult to reach, but not all dogs will allow you to to reach that easily. And that is basically your finishing clipper work. So we're done with clipper work now. So now we're on the finishing work, and this takes about 15 minutes. So from now on, we're going to finish the head first, so that we can get that over with. If an owner shows up, we can be done with it. Okay, so my neck is already, I don't have to worry much about his neck because I've already put that in. So first step, and remember, he's a licker, so I'm almost going to pinch his mouth closed so I know where his tongue is. So I combed all this down here. I'm cutting it straight across, or kind of a half moon. But make sure that you're so you can do your curves and do the inside of the curve. Don't cut it too far back up here, because then it's hard to make look cute. So make sure it's even on each side. You don't want to have one side trimmed and one side not trimmed. So we're on finishing work, so we want to make sure that when we move on from this area, that's finished. So I've combed that forward, that's finished. Now I'm going to comb his hair down on his chin, and I'm just going to try to even this up just a little bit. And notice I'm not having to do anything really with the neck because it's already been cut and into length. So have that. So I've cut that. Now all we have to do is I'm holding, so I don't know if you saw what I did. So I'm holding the ear over. I've got my thumb on his nose so that I've got all this available to me. I hardly have to take anything here. It's already pretty much the right length. I can just even it up a little bit. I do have to take some of the hair off right up there. So all I'm doing is now blending back from the chin, from this part, back through here, blending in, or this is chunkers actually, and making sure making sure that's not too thick here. And he's pretty easy to do, so you're not going to see me really struggle to get him even because he's got nice textured hair. If all dogs had his texture of hair, our job would be so much easier. So let's go on this side and do the same thing to this side. So of course I can't hold it the same way. We're going to just make sure there's nothing. And because I was really careful with when I did my clippers, there's not much to do here other than go in and start just blending this. And blending, I mean by just softening the outline. So all I'm doing is using my thinning shears over just that top half inch, or not half inch, but like a 1/4 of an inch of the hair, because I just want to soften that outline, that profile there. There's no real areas that have a lot of hair that be taken out. So maybe here. So you saw me do that cheek. Now I'm going to look at him from the front, comb the hair up on his nose, and see what needs to be taken out from there. So on this side, it needs to be taken a little bit here. This side, a little bit up here. And if I am not going into the hair, and what I mean by going in is doing that, going right in and taking a chunk. So all I'm doing is going just on that outside. It doesn't matter what direction I'm going. Whether I'm holding my blade, when we're holding my thinning shears this way, or any other way, it doesn't matter when all I'm doing is trying to soften that outline. I'm going to go up here, make sure it's thin up here. So I'm going to hook him back up because I want to do a little bit up here. So I've got the comb. I'm going to comb the hair, lift it, and while it's still lifted with the comb, I'm going to kind of take out the longer ends. So it's generally going to be longer right as it transitions through the temples in this area, which is okay unless you see this big line. Okay, let me see. I'm going to blend it a little bit right back here. This time when I'm blending it, I'm actually thinning it. So I am going in because I want to reduce the bulk right here. This is just right behind his ears. Okay, now, let's see. Now I'm going to comb the ears down. If they're staticky, I'll use the spray. So I'm going to comb the hair, and it's, you can't see because he's black, but, and just take maybe 1/2 inch off. These guys come in regularly, so I'm not taking huge chunks off. And they like their ears a little bit longer than, because I normally do them right up the chin, but they like them a little bit longer. So fold them in half to see if there's any long pieces. You're okay, Eleanor. And then I'm going to come on the other side and do the same thing to the other ear. And hopefully last time I got the ears even, but we know that I'm notorious about not getting them even, so you do have to check. And I'm going to comb down. Oh, so you can actually see that really well. And then, and I just kind of do just a little bit of a curve. So I'm taking about 1/2 inch off, and that's about the same I took on the other side because they were even. So lift up, make sure these aren't really long. Fold in half, take a look, they look right. Then a little bit more here. Okay, so I'm just finding it, thinning it through there because it was a little bulky. But that head is done. So now if the clients show up, at least the head's done. Okay, so now we're going to finish the rest of the body. We're going to do this the same thing we did it with the clipper work. We're going to start on one leg, and then we're going to move around the dog and finish as we go. So we're not worrying about this, we're not worrying about that, we're worrying about this foot right here. Never try to do the legs until you've done the feet. So his nails are trimmed, so I'm going to comb back to get the back of that hair down, and then front to get that hair in between the toes down. I'm going to go carefully around, just around the little pads, to remove all the hair that's going to hang down. If you need to, you can come back up here, comb that up, and then come back to here and comb it down again. And by doing that, you can't see that, but there's still a bunch of hairs poked down once I did that. Okay, so once those hairs are all combed down, you let him put his foot down. If he tries to move his foot while you're doing it, which he's going to try to do anyways, you can lift the opposite foot and hopefully he'll keep the foot in place, which he's not doing. So we're going to hold this foot down. So I'm combing it down and around. After I've trimmed the bottom of the foot, I then run my scissors off the front of the paw. No, stop that. So it slides down to the front of the paw, and that's where we start. And what it's doing is it's sliding off the paw, off the nails, and it's showing you where you need to start cutting. And then you need to go around it to make sure there are no hairs hanging down below. There should be no hairs, and this is with most breeds, there should be no hair touching the table once you've trimmed up the foot. Okay, so now I'm going to brush the back of this foot back up a little bit and see if I've got a lot of long hairs. I have a few. You don't want to cut too close on his elbow. or you'll do what's called pinching the elbow. Means it goes in. So I'm just kind of taking off the edges. Now I'm going to comb up the front of the paw. And I'm going to just do that longer dome. So I'm just doing a little dome right over the top. And he is resisting me, so now I'm going to go and do blenders on the inside of the leg. Just so at this point, when you're doing the leg and finishing it, you're just looking for long stray hairs that will make it look right. And he keeps on tucking his leg underneath him, so I can't quite see. But you don't want to overstress about the legs. So his hair's, I mean, he's got beautiful hair. So his hair is nice and fluffy and has a nice texture. So it's going to look good pretty easily. I'm checking the inside of the leg. So, stand up. That leg is done. Now we're going to look at the body. So we're going from the leg, now we're looking at his shoulder. By doing this and having a routine that you're doing, it makes sure that you don't miss anything and that you're going over the dog, that you're not stressing about one particular area over anything else, and that you're moving steadily through the dog so that you're not just, agonizing about one area of the dog. Is a little bit. So I'm doing this is the thinners over the comb. I'm doing this in areas that look choppy to me or might look uneven, like that's kind of uneven. And if it's uneven, I'm taking the long hairs. Oh, so leg. Then the next step is when I'm moving back is I'm going to trim these little long hairs that hang down from his tuck up. Because you can kind of see that. So by neatening up, that just neatens up that profile there. I know, Eleanor. So I'm going to just do this until I'm happy with how it looks and how it lays. It doesn't ever get perfect because it's hair and it's a dog that isn't necessarily wants to cooperate with you. So that's good. Okay, now we're moving on to this back leg. And remember, we don't try to do anything on the leg until we finish the foot. So, and it's at this point that I don't want to fight with him trying to sit down while I'm trying to do this foot. So I'm going to strap him up so he has to step. So we're going to comb, brush down, brush up through the toes. So what we're trying to do is get that hair to come down through the toes, and then we're just going around the outside of the foot, and we're doing it pretty much even flat with the foot. I'm using my curves because I use my curves for everything, but so there we go. Now we're going to let him put his foot back down. We're going to comb it, make sure there's no tangles. I'm going to move it out a little bit because he's trying to tuck it in, which makes it harder. So come on, just there we go. So we're going to run it down over the top of the foot and then go down around. And he's totally not being cooperative here, but so once we've done that, we then comb the hair up. And we're going to do like kind of the dome over the top of the foot. The inside of this foot's much longer, so I'll get that in just a minute. So let him put the foot down. And of course, he's twisting it. So I'm going to comb, I'm pulling his leg back and combing that so I can get that. You're okay, Eleanor. because he's twisting his leg. He's making it hard for me to see. So, he's totally, he's totally slouching down in the leg. So, I can go around and make sure that looks good. I'm going to, as part of this, I'm going to comb up inside his leg and make sure all that looks even. And generally just a couple little hairs need to be taken off. Lift his tail. And it's at this point that we make sure all of this area is nice and neat. I will also take blenders and take this shorter around the bum. Because you just want that area really neat, because this is where they poop. You don't want it to get stuck in there. You don't want it to look, because the dog will lift up its tail, and you don't want it to look like you totally skipped that area. So, okay, so now we're going to do the tail. So we're going to comb down. Again, we're going to focus on that area there. Make sure there's no tangles there. Comb it all the way down, and I just take off just the tip. And then I'm going to lift it up. Comb it down, and I'm just trimming just a little bit right through here. Now I'm going to blend on the top of the tail. So there's nice, so even though it's really short and it goes to long, there's a nice smooth transition, doesn't look choppy. Okay, now we're moving on to the right back leg. So first step, don't try to finish that leg until you've done the foot. We comb everything down. You're okay, Eleanor. And we're gonna go around the foot. Don't go across the foot or across the pads, because you'll cut the pad. Don't ever try to use blenders this way. You will cut the pad, and I have, and if it's too bad, then nothing can be done, because you can't glue foot back or part of the pad back. So now I've got the top of his foot, so I'm just going to comb it down each direction. Run the scissors over to the front. That's when you're going to cut. So you're going to cut the front first, and then round it to the sides and do the sides. And I'm lifting him because he's sagging in his feet. By doing it that way, you're not exposing the foot or the toes, which is a pet peeve for some people. Personally, I know it doesn't bother me, but it's just a prettier looking foot. It's a nice fluffy foot. Okay. So now I'm combing, looking on the inside of the leg, making sure that's neat. I'm going to go back and make sure I didn't skip the back of this foot. Remember, be careful because the dew claws are there. Okay, let's see. Now, that foot is done. Now I'm going to do, this side looks better than the other side, and I can take him out of this now since I got his back feet. So this side, oh, and remember, so once we go, we're going to do this tuck up next. So we're basically moving forward, moving around the dog. We're going to cut, I'll just trim that up so that when he puts his foot down, that you don't see all these little straggly hairs. Okay. So, lifting and blending any of these uneven, anything that looks choppy or uneven. Lifting it up with a comb helps you to tell if it is uneven. Okay, now we've just got this one foot left. So I'm going to comb it out. This is the most awkward foot for me just because of the angle it's at. And I'm right-handed, so I'm going to cut this. And he's twisting his foot out this far. I would like his foot to be kind of right there, but he's not. So try not to catch the nails with your scissors because they'll dull your scissors. They'll put a nick in your scissors. Okay, now I'm holding his foot down because he won't want to hold it there. And combing it forward to the sides. So remember now I'm rolling it off the foot. And that's where I put the first cut. Whoop. And then we just go around this. And I'm still holding his foot down. He totally is trying to lift his foot. But, so, I'm going to do that again on his foot. I'm going to lift it, the back, and brush it up again. Because I noticed that it looked really messy. So... yeah, this foot isn't great. So now I'm combing it up and doing the little dome, and he is totally fighting me on this. So, and his hair grows in a funny, okay, stop it. So I'm gonna force his legs straight and his hair grows, it's going to that direction. So it's gonna be a little bit harder to even that up. No. So I'm gonna switch to my blenders and blend that curve that goes off to the side. Just to soften it so it's not this huge, you can't see it very well, but. Okay, now I'm gonna lift the leg, comb around the little pad there. That always prevents the clipper from getting it completely, so we wanna just comb that down and even it up. Okay. Now we're gonna, let's see. See, when I don't know if you can see that. I'm trying to lift his foot forward so I can see that, but that's what he does. He's doing that. I want it this way so I can see this side. There we go. So I'm just trying to get the inside to see if that's even, but he automatically rinks it up, and it makes it hard. So, but we do the best we can. Okay, let's stand up. Yeah, his hair grows a little funny on this leg, but he does have really nice hair. So, pretty much looks good no matter what. Because it's just so nice and crisp and fluffy. And one last double check of the ears, and he's done. So I'm not obsessing about the fact that their hair's sticking out on his legs because they're always going to stick out. That's it. He's done. Dog finish. Oh, bandana. So we'll put a bandana on him. We won't stress about all the little teeny hairs. And we say, good job, Winston, you look handsome. And that's it. There you go. That's how to groom a dog. 1 hour.